Let's see whether what was said lines up with reality. Does it line up with reality? If it's something crazy, it's out of left field from what we saw and perceived, then yeah, maybe it's not real. But if it's something that lines up with what we perceived, what we saw at trial, well, then we think it's real. We have had fakes in the past. There's the TikTok fake juror. That was definitely a fake juror. But I think this one, it's something that requires a deeper analysis. So we'll go through the article. This is the GMA article. I'm not going to play the video because the video will get us copyright struck or at least claimed. So I'm not going to play the video. Honestly, the video kind of sucks. So you're not missing anything. I will zoom in though, and I'm going to go through this and kind of focus on the statements. So I will be skipping some of it, but what we're going to really focus on is the statements. What did they find particularly damning about what Amber Heard said? What was it that caused the juror, and not just this juror, but the whole jury? Remember, they had to be fucking unanimous. So what caused all of them, all 7 people, to say, nah, we're not buying your bullshit, Amber Heard? So the juror speaks out. This is June 17th. Obviously, this is right away. So this is recent, right? This is not something from a while ago. This is right here. So a juror spoke out. And by the way, in the video, they do confirm this is a male juror. This is a young male juror. So they said that the actress cried during the testimony. The jury only saw crocodile tears. That's their quote, is crocodile tears. Also, I love that you guys could probably tell I'm in fucking Korea because you've got the Hangul here on the side for any of those that that may doubt that I'm not in America. Oh, shit. Okay, so he goes on to say, it didn't come off as believable. It only seemed like she flipped the switch on her emotions. She would answer one question and she'd be crying, and 2 seconds later, she would turn ice cold. It didn't seem natural. No, you know what that seems like? It seems like fucking borderline personality disorder. It seems like histrionics. When you go from hot to cold, that's fucking crazy. And I understand some people say, oh, but that's a condition. Yes, and she needs to seek help for it. But you know what she didn't do? She didn't admit that she was struggling with a condition. She didn't admit that she had a problem. Not once during this trial or after the trial in her interview did Amber Heard take any accountability. If she came out and said, before, during, after, whatever, she came out and said, you know what? It's right. I do have a condition. This is a problem and I need to work on it. We might be a little bit more sympathetic for Amber Heard. But she has never, not once, taken responsibility. Oh man, I hear the cops running by my place here in Seoul. I didn't do anything. It wasn't me. That's all I mean. It wasn't me. Statute of limitations is passed, guys. But yeah, that flipping of the switch there, that's not natural. And guys, if you're dating somebody, whether they're, by the way, and this is for the ladies in the chat, this applies to men, and for the guys in the chat, this applies to ladies. It applies to everybody. If you are dating somebody and they have this pattern of behavior, fucking run. Get your shit, get the fuck out of that place, run. And guys, I'm verbose on this. I know I'm cursing a lot here, but it's so important to avoid this. And I know so many people fall into the trap because it's really intoxicating. This hot and cold thing, one's in the chat. If you've dated or know somebody like this, like if you dated somebody or you've got a friend like this who's always either hot or cold, they're on or off. One's in the chat. I want to see it if you guys have experienced this. Because to me, if you've experienced this, you know how bad it is. You know that you've got to avoid that. It's really, okay, so I'm seeing a lot of people here. My sister, oh, Brianna, oh, I'm sorry about your sister. Renee says he had a friend. Yep, we got a lot of ones in the chat here today. A lot of ones. True Basic Instinct vibes. Yes, that's it. Basic Instinct. And Alexandra, I'm not apologizing. I'm just giving people context, right? Because I have some people sometimes reach out and they say, go, Andrew, why are you cursing? I go, that's because this shit fires me up. This pisses me off. And it's worthwhile to be pissed off about. I mean, if you've gone out with one person like this, it's a problem. Ken's Council Couch lies. Better tip. Get married and have her cut your finger off. Fucking Ken. You're a shit show, Ken. I love you. I love you. You're a degenerate bastard, but I love you. And even degenerate bastards are welcome in a legal mindset. You're welcome here. You have a home. So yeah, it's classic narcissism. It's classic personality issues, you know, and I'm not a doctor. I'm just a simple Florida lawyer, but I know that shit ain't normal. All right. So Depp, he said, the Depp just seemed more real in terms of how he responded to questions. This lines up. This checks out. Depp came off as very real, very authentic. The juror, one of 7, spoke exclusively to GMA, and he's the only one to speak publicly. He asked to not have his name used for the report. So it's a dude, but he didn't have his name asked. And by the way, the majority of them were dudes, so that really doesn't pin it to anybody. If there was one woman or one dude on the trial, you know, if there's only one dude on the trial and he spoke up, then that might dox him. But in this case, him being a dude does not really shift things one way or another. So Amber Heard, so the whole claim was over her claiming to be a public figure representing domestic abuse. And they thought that was bullshit. The jury found as the finder of fact, because that's what a jury is in a trial. They're the ones who determine facts and whether they are true or not, whether they're reliable or not. By the way, this is an interesting question. I'm going to answer it, even though it's not usually up there. But wife of his says, I got to know, why did you need a 2-hour cab ride home from the airport? Doesn't Seoul have an airport? Well, just wondering. So there's 2 airports in Seoul. Just so you know, there's Gimpo Airport, which is a domestic airport. It's the old military airport. It's closer to the center of Seoul. It's connected by a metro line. It's about an hour away by metro. There's an express metro. If you get lucky, it can be like 45 minutes there. But then the Incheon Airport, which is the international airport, that's located it's actually on an island, like an artificial island they created by land reclamation, much like Japan's Haneda Airport in Tokyo, which was, created from land reclamation. So yeah, it's on a fucking island. It's about 2 hours away by car or by metro. The issue is I had a lot of bags. So standing on a metro, in order to, with a bunch of bags, I was there for 2.5 weeks, had stuff I was bringing back. It's not fun. It's not great. So yeah, I wanted to take a cab and, be driven to my abode. It was it was also quicker. The metro would have probably taken about 2 hours and 30 minutes at that time of day. Plus, if you know anything about Asia, particularly Tokyo or Seoul, the metros are packed during rush hour. So that's just a fact. As Legal Vices says, Seoul be big. Seoul be big. All right. So to continue, the juror concluded that they were both abusive to each other, but Heard's team failed to prove Depp's abuse was physical. So failed to prove that Depp ever did anything that she claimed he did. That's the issue here, is that she said, oh, he graped me with a Maker's Mark bottle. The jury found that was a lie. Lie detector test says that was a lie. Kelly, thank you so much for the 79 Australian. Appreciate that. Crikey. They found out that the grabbing her by the pelvic bone, that was a lie. The hitting her, pushing her on the stairs, that was a lie. All of it was a lie, according to the jury. And Heard's credibility was suspect about the duration. Besides how she acted on the stand, several other factors led them to believe that she was not credible. They had their husband-wife arguments. They were both yelling at each other. I don't think that makes either of them right or wrong. That's what you do when you get in an argument, I guess. But to rise to the level of what she was claiming, there wasn't enough or any evidence that really supported what she was saying. Think about that one more time. There wasn't enough or any evidence. So he's not just saying, well, on a balance, we didn't see. He's saying we didn't see anything that supported what she was saying. Bro, that's extreme. That shows how bad her case was, how disingenuous her case was. It really is horrible when it gets to the point where they say there's no evidence whatsoever at all. Real bad. Heard, the juror said, was considered the aggressor in the relationship by the majority of the jury. If you have a battered wife or spouse situation, why would the other person be the aggressor? Oh, sorry. Why would the other person buy the aggressor a knife? If you really wanted to help Johnny get off drugs, why are you taking drugs to him? Damn, these are good questions. These are good questions. And Bella, glad you got off, said just got off work. Glad I caught the live. Yes, welcome. Appreciate it, guys. Welcome to the lives. This is the early morning mindset for those in the United States, or the international mindset. So I agree with this logic. I mean, if someone is terrified, literally Amber Heard in her recent interview says every waking moment she was terrified for her life, and she gives him a knife. So either she's asking for it, either she's into it, which by the way is one of my theories, is that she is into that. She's into fighting. I believe she needs it psychologically, perhaps even sexually. Of course, that's a little bit of a presumption, but it's possible. Oh, also Jennifer saying she was born in Incheon. So you definitely know then, Jennifer, about Incheon City. That's by the airport. Cool. But the drugs thing, I mean, literally supplying him with drugs. And by the way, we all know whose cocaine that was. We all know whose cocaine that was on the table. We know that was either Whitney's or Amber's. It wasn't John. Nobody, no guy, no man is snorting shit with a tampon applicator unless he is fucking desperate or doesn't know it's a tampon applicator. I'm sorry. I'm saying it. Call me sexist, but I ain't using no fucking tampon applicator to snort cocaine. I only use $100 bills off of a stripper's ass. That is the only way, the only acceptable way for a man to snort cocaine. Fight me. All right. So Depp testified she purchased Depp a large knife as a gift, which Depp's legal team presented to jury. So they entered it into evidence. The jury said that photographs Heard took of her ex-husband also fell flat. The defense used them to show Depp's decrepit state after a drug or alcohol binge. The juror said they failed to make an impact. By the way, there really wasn't a defense in this case. I mean, I guess Amber Heard was technically the defendant, but she was also counterclaiming. So there was claims going both ways. And Bella Sella says, it's like, I'm scared of you. Here's a knife. Doesn't make sense. Exactly, Bella. Exactly. That makes zero sense. That's like, oh, you're an abusive person. Here's a gun. Like, you wouldn't do that. It's just dumb. It's 100% idiocy. And by the way, guys, I'm kidding. I am not doing any drugs, especially in Korea, guys. Drugs are like super banned in Korea. Like, you will be immediately deported for even a little bit of pot, even a CBD vial. They will kick your ass out. They don't actually distinguish, even in the language, really doesn't distinguish between different types of drugs. So if you mix alcohol and marijuana, that's usually where you end up passed out, the juror said. It sounds like the juror, by the way, this is really credible because it sounds like the juror has some experience with alcohol and marijuana. It sounds like they've got some experience. We discussed at length that a lot of drugs she said he used, most of them were downers. And a lot don't get violent on a downer. You become a zombie, as the pictures show. See, this is the thing. This is the thing that got me during the trial. I'm so glad there was a young person and this guy caught this. Clearly, by the way, he's probably smoked some pot in his life. And I said this during the trial, but this whole drugs are bad argument, this reefer madness argument, that's some boomer shit. That's some stuff that Elaine Bredehoff came up with in her cat cave. Nobody believes in 2022, no person who's under the age of fucking maybe 65 believes that if you smoke pot, that's going to cause you to go into an aggressive rage. Or if you're drinking, right, necessarily in combination with doing pot, that's going to send you into the rage. No, MDMA. It doesn't have aggressive tendencies. If you're taking MDMA in an airplane, your first tendency is not going to be to break somebody's wrist. MDMA, okay, maybe you're likely to lick somebody. Maybe you're likely to try to, get frisky with them. But you're never going to try to get violent with them. It's just not an MDMA reaction. That doesn't follow through. See, I'm glad somebody in the chat here remembers Reefer Madness. The old classic. And guys, stay out of the cat caves, guys. The cat caves are dangerous. They're a place where many go to die. In the cat cave. So in his testimony, Depp admitted to cocaine use, a stimulant, and Heard testified he was frequently doing the drug in her presence. But I guess that wasn't enough, right? The cocaine use wasn't enough. And by the way, he testified that he was coming down off of it, that he was trying to get off of cocaine, move it out of his life. I think that was very credible. I think his presentation of that was very credible on his position on drugs and on cocaine. Bursa says, I honestly never gave my ex-husband to amplify the violence I received. Kind of seemed like a bad idea. That's just a thought. Yeah, exactly. So, and that's what I've heard from a lot of actual abuse victims. Throughout this case, you guys have reached out to me. People have reached out to me who've been abused, who've had issues with other people, and said, look, I would never do this. If I was afraid of somebody, I would never provoke them. I would never taunt them. I would never talk to them like Amber Heard did. If she was afraid of Johnny Depp, she wouldn't say, suck my dick, suck my dick, suck my dick. And it certainly at trial didn't look like she was afraid of him being violent. She was looking at him clearly. She was looking right the fuck at him. She's almost challenging him. And Johnny Depp is the one who wasn't making eye contact with her. All those signs show that he was the one who's more likely to be abused. Wes said, if you live in California, I smoke marijuana. It's always a mellow state. No matter what I smoke, I'm always laid back mode. Yeah, there you go. There you go. And I know there's difference between indica and sativa, and I know there's different effects, right? But generally, I have not seen people who are high, right, act hyper aggressive. Based on Amber Heard's mental state, she keeps doubling down till no one believes her. Welcome to Korea, brother. Oh yeah, Pete Yokesay, good to see you. Look forward to hanging out soon. Hanging out very soon. But yeah, she I think that Amber is gonna keep doubling down. I don't think she's gonna stop. I think she's on this train and she's got to keep doubling down. So the next one, no makeup, no credibility. The juror said that the jury essentially dismissed all witnesses on both sides who were employees, paid experts, friends, or families from either side, which, by the way, I think is fair. So they're saying that, look, Whitney is out, Baruch is probably out because he's a friend, and all the employees are out. So we're listening to the experts. We're listening to Johnny and Amber. We're listening to each of their sides of the story. They're listening to the audio. They're looking at the pictures. And they're saying, hey, everybody else, they could be influenced. Actually, the experts are saying, the paid experts, because they're all paid experts, they really dismiss them. That's interesting. But frankly, it was Amber's side that leaned more on them than Johnny's side. And Johnny's side pretty much just debunked them. So I think this, dismissing the experts, dismissing crazy Dr. Spiegel, the tongue guy, that guy, I think that works in favor of Johnny. I think that did work in favor of Johnny. And people say, what about muffins? What about Dr. Curry? Well, maybe they were charmed by her, but that doesn't mean they had to take her testimony to heart, right? Also suspect were the photos that Heard team presented that purported to show bruising on the actress' faces. So we were worried about whether the jury was thinking this, but they immediately saw what we saw what everybody saw. saw what people pointed out on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter day one, which is the two photos presented near the end of the trial were not credible. They believe the accusation by Depp's team that one photo was edited to artificially redden Heard's face to suggest bruising. Heard testified the photos look different because of vanity light. Nah, that's editing, bro. Vasi Gencheva, thank you so much for the BGN. I actually don't know what currency it is. Is it Bulgarian? So I appreciate that. Yeah, if you guys don't know, Asia is like the land of apps. Like, for example, here, a popular Korean app, maybe you guys have heard of it, the Snow app. It is so easy for anybody to wildly edit their appearance. That's how you get catfished, by the way. And listen, I'm against catfishing, whether it's guys or girls, right? Whether it's guys extending the height or, lowering the weight, or whether it's girls, lowering the weight or making themselves look like they've got makeup on when really they never wear it and have a completely different, face shape. Don't catfish people. I think it's always better if you're going to show up for a first date. I think it's always better if you look better than your pictures. If you show up and it's like, oh, you in person look better than your pictures. Now I know you got to pass that first threshold, but still, my personal opinion. Gallery Raider said, Andrew, there's plenty of miles left on Amber yet. I talked to Johnny last night on the Dog and Bone. Floppy fish markets did broach the convo. Listen, I would not make any sushi out of that floppy fish. I'm just saying. Jocko Spiltnick says Amber Heard equals somniac narcissist. Dr. Smeagol equals cerebral narcissist. Yes. Dr. Smeagol is definitely a narcissist, 100%. So the jury goes on to say there were two different pictures. We couldn't really tell which picture was real and which one was not. So the jury couldn't even decide what was real and what was not. That's a fucking problem. That's a huge problem if the jury can't tell what was real. The juror also said the defense failed Heard by telling them that the actress never goes outside without makeup on. Yet she goes to file the restraining order without makeup on. And it just so happens her publicist is with her. Those things add up and starts to become hard to believe. Boom. Gotcha, bitch. As we say, game match. You can't have inconsistent statements like that. And here's the thing. You played yourself. This is a situation where it's Amber's own testimony, her own expert's testimony contradicting. So literally saying, oh, yep, we're going there she never goes without makeup on. Never. And yet, that day, she decided to go get the TRO without the makeup on. I'm calling bullshit. $7 million donation. Fiasco for Heard. So the juror said there was a 4-hour debate. Holy shit. A 4-hour debate between the pledge donation and actual donation ended up in a fiasco for Heard. Oh, sorry. 4-hour debate was in the courtroom, right? So this was like literally with Camille Vasquez. The back and forth. The fact that Amber wanted to contest that. If Amber, what she should have done is just let it go. Just let it slide, let it pass. Be like, well, I guess I didn't know. Yep, you're right, Camille, move on. Or just let Camille move on. But instead, she decided to fight Camille over pledge and donation. That was the weirdest thing to do. On the stand, she testified she never finished donating all the $7 million because she didn't want Depp to reap the tax benefits. That's bullshit, because he wouldn't reap the benefits. She would reap the benefits. Heard testified that a pledge and donation are synonymous with one another and mean the same thing. The jury has shown the video of Heard on a Dutch talk show saying she gave her donation to charities. Yes, she did. She said openly, hey, I gave it to charities. The fact is she didn't give much of it away at all. It was disingenuous. Yes. And the jury finding it to be disingenuous is material. Them saying, hey, she's a liar. Because remember, if you lie on small things, you lie on big things. Lie on small things, you lie on big things. He blamed Heard's legal team for giving her poor advice, such as looking directly at the jury when responding to questions. All of us were very uncomfortable with that. Yeah, it was creepy as fuck. Like if somebody is staring at you, it's creepy. It's really creepy. It's not good stuff. And nobody wants to see that. See Amber Heard with her intense stare. It's weird. It's absolutely weird. So the team said that her team had sharp elbows versus being sharp. Yeah, her team, Rottenborn and Elaine, they were just like honestly salty the entire time. They came off as bitchy. And the jury picked up on that. Right here, they would cut people off and cross because they wanted one specific answer without context. They were forcing people to just answer a very narrow question, which was obvious. People saw through Elaine's bullshit. And this is what I'm saying. People get worried about the jury, but listen, when people are assholes, especially when you're in the same room, that comes off. And Elaine was acting like a bitch. Rottenborn was acting like a little bitch too. Both of them. Both of them. And it came off that way. Camille, meanwhile, presented as sharp, smart. Yeah, she was aggressive. She was a zealous advocate, but she came off as smart, as intelligent, as asking the right questions, as not wasting people's time. Whereas Elaine came off as trying to force a specific answer with zero context, and it was an answer that really was a nothing burger. Amica cream. Remember the Amica cream? This is a prime example. It's like, why do you want to force the Amica cream? Why are you trying to make that shit happen? It meant nothing. And honestly, the reason why I like harping on this is it's a good lesson for how not to do a cross-examination. Elaine, and I have a clip up about it, but Elaine is a lesson on how not to do a cross. Vis-a-vis Camille. She needs better advice, he said of Heard. Yeah, I think that Heard wasn't even listening to her counsel's advice. That's my personal opinion. Right here, he said, if she didn't do any of this stuff with the op-eds, Johnny Depp could have helped her out in her career. They didn't leave things on a nasty turn. It turned nasty after the op-ed. Exactly. Johnny Depp was willing to be nice, to be amicable, to let her go with money. He wasn't a dick until Amber Heard literally put the strap on and hit him with the TRO and the op-ed. The double penetration. It was bad. We only looked at the evidence. So this is the thing. I think this is why I believe this is a real jury. This is it right here. Because this is why they got pissed off. They got pissed off because they were accused of looking at social media. They were accused of breaking their vow as jurors. So they came out and somebody had to defend their honor and say, nah, we only looked at the evidence.